This is a detailed presentation on the load shifting analysis in the power grid. Hi, I'm Ankit Mishra, project lead. I, along with my team, Mr. Veen Dao and Mr. Kunal Rajput, will discuss the final project progress report. The general motivation of the project is the cost optimization of the energy mix. We often come across days when the instantaneous cost of energy is 20 times more than the normal prices during the non-peak hours. This generally happens because of forced generation by costly sources or methods to beat the increasing demand. What this essentially means is that a rise in the price is caused by technologies which costs more per kilowatt hour. Hence, the concept is to store energy when the demand is less whilst generation happens with cost-effective techniques. The stored energy would then be consumed during the peak hours. This way, there would be no need to switch to a non-pocket friendly generation technology. This document broadly covers the load analysis of the grid in the New England region, where we shall try to smoothen the excess sinusoid in the power generation. The concept, as discussed in the introduction, would shift energy in the time axis. The steps for the analysis of the preliminary concept, which greatly changed as the project progressed, has been documented. This would be followed by an algorithm for cost optimization of the energy mix. A specific discussion on plant type fixed storage system versus distributed systems is done, which is supported by EI report study for the cost analysis of the battery energy storage systems, hereon referred to as BESS. For the foundation, there would be an introductory discussion on the G2V and V2G concept. This would be followed by some general policy discussions supporting the use of the distributed storages for the load shifting. To support these arguments, we shall perform some nominal calculations based on the best available data to determine the total energy capacity of the EVs. We shall also discuss alternatives. Since the project was large and had many loose ends owing to the non-availability of the trustworthy data or data sources, we shall also have small discussions on other energy storage systems and associated economics and policy affairs before concluding. A typical power grid works by matching the generation to the consumption in real time. A grid always keeps control over the supply demand curve by keeping extra generation capacity handy. In the New England region, nuclear, hydro, and gas provides the base load. Gas generation, which has a maximum rating of 18,000 megawatt, is used to compensate for the variation in the renewables. This contributes to 60% of the requirement and is load following in nature, as the engines could be started and stopped quickly without significant performance or life degradation. The problem employing this methodology is the fuel prices, the fact that the fuel prices goes up with the increase in the demand. There are other ways of canceling this instantaneous inflation. One of the ways is through long-term contracts between stakeholders. Our focus is flattening of the generation curve, de-stressing the grid, and thus hitting the objective of keeping the prices in check. The fundamental idea is using the time when the demand is low to store energy and then use the same when the demand rises. In figure number 1, we see a general case of a sinusoid. Figure 2 shows point of generation. Please note that the gap between the actual mean of the cycle and the generation rate marked by the dotted lines is due to the inefficiencies of the technologies, including reproduction inefficacies. Figure 3 depicts the case of shifting of the load. The area under the curve shaded would be, for example, the charge stored in case of batteries. This is shifted in time axis and used during the next cycle when the demand is higher. Figure 4 shows plotting of the linear de-stressed power grid generation, which takes into care smaller adjustments owing to the unexpected increase or fall in the energy demand. The curve is flattened, thereby reducing the need for higher generating capacities and ensuring better utilization of the resources. You can have a look at the flattened curve here. This is the flattened curve. The smaller variation is due to the instantaneous or the actual net increase or decrease in the demand. There are three aspects of the objectives. For technology, we are interested in assessing a suitable technology or method for load shifting analysis, understanding the economics of the load shifting and selecting the most cost effective yet reliable system. And thirdly, for the policy, we shall look into the policy decisions, encouragements in form of incentives, etc. Our motive is cost optimization of the energy mix.
This gives rise to three important aspects which needs to be successfully identified, defined, and achieved. First one being the assessment of the feasibility of any such methodology. In order to go any further, we need to understand the cost and availability of these technologies, assign weighing factors based on important parameters. This would help us in defining clearly the cheapest and the most reliable technology, the second cheapest and the second most reliable technology, the third cheapest and the third most reliable technologies, and so on. Now, to understand the feasibility of this method, let's go through the algorithm. The algorithm says that if the cheapest and the most reliable source of energy satisfies the average energy requirement, stop. Of course, it's already cheap and you can't make it any cheaper as it's utilizing the most cheapest and the most cost effective technology. The average energy here means, for example, if you have 24 hours, the actual demand is sampled every hour, summed up, and is divided by the total number of samples, that is 24. This would similarly give demand averaged over weeks, a month, or even a year. The second aspect is the quantification of the net energy needed to be stored for optimization of the cost of mix. Now, the algorithm goes this way. If the cheapest and the most reliable technology doesn't satisfy the averaged requirement, then use the second cheapest and the second most reliable source. At instances when the demand is lower than the averaged demand, this difference of the instantaneous lower demand and the averaged energy may be stored using pumped hydro, batteries, or thermal storages. This algorithm thus gives us the instantaneous value of the energy to be stored using energy storage systems for cost optimization of the energy mix. Note, some other key parameters that influence the cost optimization would be MOUs between stakeholders favoring a particular component from the energy mix, like, say, solar or onshore wind, state regulations encouraging a particular technology. These additional parameters can be very well accommodated by making slight changes to this existing algorithm. The third and the final aspect is the selection of storage system based on the levelized cost of storages. This LCOS would include the product warranty cost, service cost, including replacement and safe disposal of the used assets.
We have two options: a single large plant or multiple small distributed part time batteries. Here is an example of cost of BESS of power and energy rating of 50 megawatt and 200 megawatt hour respectively using lithium ion technology with a service life of 10 years and having 3000 charge discharge cycles. There is a breakup of all the components, some of which we do not require, like transmission line cost, as these are all variables. But the point I want to convey here is that this essentially would lead to a cost of $347 per kilowatt hour, which would obviously translate into an LCOS, that is the levelized cost of storage during the calculation of the cost of unit electrical energy. Assuming that the averaged energy rating of one EV is 50 kilowatt, we can get 200 megawatt hour by using 4,000 such EVs. This implies that if more than 4,000 EVs are connected at a time to the grid system, it is equivalent to 50 megawatt or 200 megawatt hour rated battery storage system. Also, Here, in this case, we are exempt from citing O&M, EPC, and other costs associated with project construction. A point to note here is that the vehicles may decide what percentage of energy rating they want to plug into the grid system. Continuing the discussion, and from the example we just have had, we can state with obvious reasons that the LCOS or the levelized cost of storage would be significant for the plant storage system. In case of distributed battery or contributory EV battery system, the EV owners get a way to earn some bonus amount, whereas for private ownership, in case of storage plants, the plant would be under extreme financial pressure. Here again, it is important to note that many storage plants are underutilized in the US for some reasons, which is another setback on the plant economic viability in the market economy. This is a self-explanatory slide. V2G stands for vehicle to grid and G2V denotes grid to vehicle. For capital market enthusiasts, the EV battery may correspond to a demat account. You buy shares when the prices are low. This is a G2V transaction and you sell them off to make profit when the prices rise. This is a V2G transaction. When you essentially connect to the grid with proper settings and agreements, your vehicle battery would charge when the energy price is low and discharge to earn you some credits during the peak demand hour when the prices are high. Vehicles use lithium ion batteries. This makes the economics of these batteries known. V2G concept is fueled by inherently low utilization rate of the private vehicles. G2V and V2G method or agreement would work following the price of the energy. The concept is same for the load shifting. In fact, this becomes one of the best component for the load shifting application as the storage system itself has other utilizations. It does not have to sit idle and hence will always be contributing economically, thereby becoming more cost effective. The availability of such contributing system keeps on increasing with increase in the sales of EVs year on year. Few charging time slots may be encouraged or penalized by regulators or utility firms. For the V2G application, the discharging of the vehicles would be done at peak hours for which prices may be set by owners like as in the share market. The regulatory bodies must incentivize building up of new EV charging discharging stations. V2G would be like intraday charge trading. An app-based solution which can forecast energy prices also provide real-time prices so that people may use the information for charging and discharging, ensuring gains. Federal tax credit systems for batteries of certain energy rating for encouragement. There isn't any available data publicly on the consumer charging behavior patterns. We went through approximately 30 such user stories. Some of the outcomes are as follows. Office commuters would love to plug in the EVs during office hours with settings that it charges during non-peak hours or night time based on availability. Mobile business owners are always on the run. They always want to ensure charge greater than 75%. Fixed business owners would have similar settings like the daily commuters but would like to have charge greater than 35%. Office commuters were more interested in getting V2G connections. Please refer to the disclaimer on the right side of the screen. In this section, we'll examine the rate of mushrooming of the EVs across the globe. The market share is increasing by quarter percentage, at least year on year. Till 2021, there would be 5 million vehicles plying on the road. Hereafter, the values are extrapolated. It's quite difficult to get accurate figures for all the models sold year on year from reliable source. This limits our analysis. We may, on the other hand, get some symbolic data from few sites which may help in trend analysis and verifications. Tesla Model 3 has a rating of over 100 kilowatt hour and a huge market share. This would increase the average energy rating above 50 kilowatt hour. On the next slide, we'll see a snapshot of the Tesla Model 3 battery rating. This is a report of the Bureau of Transportation Statistics from the Department of Transportation of the US government. This classifies vehicles in three categories. First one is hybrid electric. This cannot be plugged into the grid. Then plug-in hybrid, which carries a smaller batteries, usually 20 kilowatt hour, and can be plugged in. And finally, the EVs, which has a large battery and an average energy rating of 50 kilowatt hour. The lower average rating is because it has to account for lost charge storage capacities for the older batteries. Let us calculate the total energy rating for all the EVs combined, assuming 30% of all the EVs are in the New England region. Hybrid electric is not considered. Plug-in hybrid is applicable for G2V transactions only and not for V2G. EVs are actual contributors for democratizing the energy system. The total energy capacity comes out to be 20,000 megawatt hour. Here is a Deloitte report on the sales and R&D figures of some of the leading EV manufacturers from 2020 through 2030. This extrapolation shows how the EVs are most likely to mushroom and take over the market share. This, along with the G2V and V2G, would totally revolutionize the energy grid. This, in fact, owing to the large integrated capacities over regions, over all makes and models, integrated over all the various aspects, specifications, make the best component for load shifting in the power grid, which is in fact free of cost and increasingly reliable as more and more vehicles join. Over to the other team members.
Thank you.